Hello everyone, this is Caleb Simpson here from ZeldaDungeon.net, and you are watching my video walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass for the Nintendo DS. This is the 5th dungeon of the game, the Goron Temple, and as soon as you enter you'll see there's actually a lot of quicksand and we want to stay out of it because you will sink in it and take damage. In the top left corner there's one of those glass acorns where you can stock up on bombs. Bombs are super useful for this dungeon, so you might want to hang out there and hit it multiple times until you're completely full, whatever you want to do. I'm actually going to switch to the Spirit of Wisdom because it's really useful for this dungeon. Now normally I typically use the Spirit of Wisdom in particular in the Temple of the Ocean King, but it's really useful here. It powers up your shield, which allows you to do things like bonking into these blue choo-choos who are electrified all the time, so you can actually stun them just by bonking into them, which is pretty cool. But also the Spirit of Wisdom allows you to walk right into these Beamos' attacks, just walk right into their beams, and then you can get past them, so that's super useful. Otherwise, you're kind of guaranteed to take damage, or you have to run away until you find a good time where you can sneak up to them. So it just makes this area significantly easier. You want to grab this Armo statue and put it onto the floor switch. This will allow you to get past the spikes to the north. And another thing you can use to get past blue choo-choos is just the bombs. So again, another reason why bombs are cool here. You can use these bomb flowers here on the Armo statues. It's a little bit more awkward. If you have bombs, that's a little bit easier. But once you defeated it, it will allow you to push it around. So grab that and then push it to the far north to set on top of the floor switch here, which will open the nearby door. So unfortunately, the bomb flower to the far left can't quite reach this Armo statue over here, so you're going to have to use regular bombs. Otherwise, another alternative to that is you can use the soft soil here with a shovel to make an air geyser to go up one level. And from this upper platform, there's also a bomb flower up here, so you can grab that, hop down, and use that to defeat the Armos instead. Once you have defeated it, go ahead and push it onto the floor switch here. This will create a bridge across to the left side. So as you probably saw during that cutscene when the bridge was extending, there is a crystal switch just underneath it on the lower level to the north. So what we want to do is toss a bomb at it, because if you try and hit the switch while you're below and then run all the way around, you don't get to the chest in time before it disappears. So instead, toss a bomb from up here and throw it at the switch, and this will activate it real quick, and then you can run over and get the chest before it goes away. Now this leads to a treasure map, and that's sweet. And then after you've done that, you can continue on to the left. So thus far we have been able to rely on bomb flowers, but this one we actually have to use regular bombs. So if you are low on bombs and you don't have enough, you'll actually have to hop down and work your way around and go like stock up on bombs back at the very beginning, which is sort of sad. So defeat the two Beamos and then go stand over here to the far right, and there is an eye switch on the wall actually, so shoot that with your bow and then go get the chest. So after that, step on the floor switch to the south. This will lower the spikes nearby, which provides a shortcut back to the beginning. And I like this because it gives us access to that glass acorn, so we can get infinite bombs if we need to. You want to work your way to the left, and there's a cracked wall here. Go ahead and blow it up, and inside you'll see that it actually leads to a dead end, but there is more bombs here to stock up too. But if you look at the map, then on the south side of the screen you can see that there's actually another entrance to the right, and you can actually see the pillars there too. So it's in between the pillars on the far right. So head outside, blow that one up too, and then head through that wall instead. In this next area, we have to defeat the fire bubbles to progress. Now, you can use your boomerang like we did before. However, something interesting to know is you can actually use the bow and arrow because it will hit them. A single hit will defeat them immediately rather than making them vulnerable and you have to run over and smack them with your sword. So it is kind of nice, but also I kind of like it because it's a little bit more of a distance option, so because you have to deal with these Beamos at the same time. So I do recommend you use the bow instead. Continuing on to the right, and we'll meet up with Dongorongo. So here we encounter a new enemy called an Eye Brute, and you may have seen them before back on DS Island, but that was optional, so if you had followed along with me, you would have encountered them before, but otherwise this would be the first time seeing them. What we need to do is shoot them with arrows to make them vulnerable, and we do actually have one of those glass acorns here that will continually replenish your arrows. So if you're running low, whatever, you can do that. But that's the only way to defeat them, is to hit them with arrows. Alright, so tap the button at the top of the screen to switch to Dongoron, and he's actually very easy. You can pretty much just run around through this area. He'll actually hurt enemies just by traveling, but otherwise you can tap on enemies to defeat them as well. So once you've defeated all the enemies on the far right side, this will open up the path for Link on the left side. So switching back to Link, we actually have a bunch of like-likes here, and I'd like to keep my distance from them, and because we have access to arrows nearby, I'm just shooting them with arrows, and I'm going to go stock up on that here in a moment. Once you've defeated all the enemies, and this will release the spikes over on Dongoron's side, I'm going to go stock up on arrows real quick, and then go stand on the switch. You can jump over ledges with Dongoron by just simply running at them as fast as you can. Do so here, and then you can stand on the floor switch. Once both characters are pressing down the floor switches, this will make a large chest appear containing the dungeon item, which is Bombchus. Now, Bombchus have been seen in other Zelda games as well, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, as well as Bomblings for an optional item in Twilight Princess, and they've been kind of not super useful up until now, and they've always been used for puzzles. This game is no different in that sense. However, these ones are significantly easier to use. You have a lot more control over them because you can draw a path for them with your map, and then they'll follow that exactly, which is actually pretty sweet. So with Dongoron, you want to defeat all the enemies to the right. This is a new enemy called Eye Slugs, and they're kind of like just a slower version of Ropes, those snake enemies that we've seen before. However, Ropes only attack in like straight lines, but meanwhile these guys can attack diagonally. Eye Slugs are significantly slower. They're kind of just a real dumb enemy. They're meant to be easy, is their whole purpose, and we'll fight more of them later. Once you've defeated all the enemies, this will open up the path to the left for Link, and there's more Eye Slugs to fight here. So yeah, Bombchus, they're mainly used for solving puzzles. You don't really use them in combat. Enemies typically just get in the way for Bombchus, and this dungeon you use them quite a bit. After this, you don't really use them too much, but Bombchus are really cool because they've been really awkward in previous Zelda titles, but this one they're really awesome. So you use the button, and then draw a path with your stylus, and they'll follow it exactly. And Bombchus are actually pretty slick in this game. They're pretty smart. They don't blow up on random things, which has always been a problem in the other Zelda titles. They just catch on random weird things in the terrain and stuff like that and explode. Super annoying. So it's very hard to line yourself up just right, but this game is very easy to have them actually do what you want. So once you've hit that switch with your Bombchu, then Dongoron will call out to you from the other side of the dungeon. He says that he can't find a way out on his side. He doesn't know where the exit is. So he's going to crawl through this random hole that the Eye Slugs were coming out and go explore the dungeon all by himself, which that sounds like a great idea. How many times has this happened in movies and stuff and it ends badly? So continue on to the left now that the spikes are lowered and go up the stairs, and there's an enemy you can defeat here, but other than that, you can send a Bombchu through the hole here to hit this switch, and this will create a bridge which gives you a shortcut back to the beginning of the dungeon. There's more glass acorns all around here that you can use to stock up on Bombchus, but there's also, just to the right, there is that other glass acorn that has regular bombs. So if you want to stock up on those too, you can, and that might be smart. I like to just stay really full on bombs because it's so useful, especially for this dungeon. This time, take these stairs down, and I'm actually going to switch to the Spirit of Courage just because I never use it. It's honestly not that useful. Like, it's really useful at the beginning of the game. When you first unlock the Spirit of Courage, it's pretty sweet, and you can use it several times, but after that, it's kind of not super great, because by the time that you can really super use it, it's like you already have the bow and bombs, and so you have all these ranged options, I guess. And they're honestly, they do more damage anyways in a lot of cases, so it kind of makes the Spirit of Courage feel a little bit worthless. I mean, it's free, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, you step forward when you use it and stuff, and it's like, your visibility's better. You can aim easier with the other weapons, so it's just kind of like, I don't know. Continue on to the north, use bombs to kill the rock chews, and you'll see that there are actually 2 crystal switches. Now, I actually removed a rock to the south that was blocking this hole in the wall. But we want to stand here on the left side and use a Bombchu to go through the holes across the sand and hit the other switch. And what we want to do is just stand here. And what you can do is actually, as soon as you let go of the Bombchu, it'll follow it, but you can actually move with the stylus, so now you can see just your screen. Get ready to slash the crystal switch on your side at the same time. This will lower the spikes to the left. Now, there is also a glass acorn to the south that has more Bombchus. I was full, which is why I didn't deal with it at the time. But if you're running low on them, you can do that real quick, too. So I'm actually going to switch back to the Spirit of Wisdom just because we have more BMOs coming up soon, and it's just the Spirit of Courage just isn't as worthwhile. Now, we have to kill all these mini-blends too, so the Spirit of Power might be kind of nice for that too, but it's not really that big a deal. So once you've defeated all the mini-blends, then this will make a chest to the south that has a red rupee, which is kind of meh. But if you look over to the left, you'll see that you can see on your map that there is some red blocks and some blue blocks, and every time you hit the switch, it alternates which one. Our goal is to hit the crystal switch that is in the sand on the south. So you send it through the hole and go all the way around and aim it into the crystal switch. Now what we have to do is smack this orb at just the right time. So move around with your stylus so that you're seeing your screen, and then wait for the Bombchus to get past the red blocks so that you can hit the crystal orb to lower the blue blocks to allow it to hit the switch. So that wasn't too bad. Continue on to the right, and there's some more bombs here, which is nice. And now there's a whole bunch of Armo statues. Now all of these guys are alive. We need to push them onto these switches, but you want to kill them first. So we do have a bunch of extra bombs in those glass acorns there to the north. So if you're running low on them, you can get those real quick. Technically, you can use Bombchus too. However, I think the bombs only work if the Armos are currently like alive and running around. So bombs are going to be significantly easier compared to Bombchus. So there are 3 different ways to deal with flying jars. You can just dodge past them, you can walk right into them with your shield, or you can use well-timed sword slashes. Now, I think in my opinion, just walking into them is by far the easiest way to deal with them. And I just think it's super sweet. I love the shield in these DS titles. It's super nice. Continue on to the south and go up the stairs, and there's actually a floor switch on the left, which provides a shortcut back to an earlier portion of the dungeon. And there is a glass acorn there that has Bombchus if you're running low. Continue on to the right, and you're going to need your bow because we have some eye brutes to deal with. Now, these guys are, they can be stunned using the bow, and then you can smack them. When it looks like the stun's about to wear out, though, you want to back up and shoot them with more arrows. I actually like to shoot both of them just to keep them preoccupied so I don't have to deal with them. And actually you can use, they have a lot of health, so you can use spin attacks to do more damage. However, if you have the Spirit of Power equipped, you'll do double damage already anyways, so that'll make your spin attack, instead of doing 2 damage, it'll do 4 damage, which is super sweet. So you can kill these guys very quickly if you have the Spirit of Power equipped. There isn't very many times in the game, like every once in a while there's a couple enemies that take 2 hits, like mini-blends take 2 hits, but there isn't too many other times where the Spirit of Power is super useful. Or like where it makes a huge difference, and this is one of those situations, is against eye brutes. Speaking of which, I'm not really even sure why they decided to call them eye brutes for this game, because they have Hinoxes, which are usually associated with bombs, though, so I guess that makes sense. And then they also have eye gores. Now, eye gores usually shoot some kind of beam, or they're also big hulking one-eyed guys, but they're a little different, I suppose. I don't know, it's just weird to me. But then again, here we have slimes, and it's the same deal with them. Sometimes in some games they're called gels, so I don't know, maybe it's the same thing. Alright, so to the far north, we want to get past these spikes, but in order to do that, we need to hit this crystal switch. Unfortunately, the crystal switch only lowers the spikes for a very short period of time, so you want to use a Bombchus to hit it from a distance, and then this will lower the spikes enough for you to get through there. I think you could actually technically use regular bombs too for that particular puzzle, and just throw them like next to the crystal switch, and it'll blow up by the time you get over there, so you have more than enough time. Now, another interesting thing to know, though, is you can use Bombchus across sand, so we want to hit the crystal switches to the far left, and some of these enemies just get in the way. They're super annoying, all these eye slugs. But anyway, continue working your way to the left. Unfortunately, the Bombchus are pretty smart. They do not hit walls, generally speaking, these bigger ones. But the little walls with just these little raised railings, whatever, they can smack into those. So you gotta draw your path very carefully. So here I drew a path, and then I realized I was smacking it into one of these walls, and it was like, bah, so I had to start over again. So once you've managed to hit both of the switches off to the far left, we need to work our way back right, so stand next to the spikes once more and use the Bombchus across the sand to lower the spikes. Then continue on and open the chest to get the boss key. So with that in hand, you want to take it to the far south, go down the stairs, and the boss door is right there. As usual, before each boss room, there is this prep area where you can fill up on Bombchus and hearts, and then you can talk to the stone tablet to get a blue portal that teleports you back to the entrance. So you can use that to go back and forth and get some potions if you need, but when you're ready, go ahead and enter the door. Alright, so here we have the boss of the 5th dungeon of the game, Dongorongo, the Armored Lizard. And he totally looks like an oversized Dodongo, and Dodongos have always been stunned in past Zelda titles by putting bombs or something explosive in their mouth. Now, because we have the Bombchus as the dungeon item and we have this nice wall of sand that we can't walk across, but Bombchus can go across, it's pretty obvious what needs to happen. The one thing that's different, though, is for this boss battle, this is the first Zelda game where we've actually had access to 2 characters for a boss battle, which is kind of interesting. Now, Gongoron, excuse me, their names are so similar. Gongoron and Link share the same health pool, so if you get hit with either one, either by the boss or by the ice slugs, then you'll take damage with both. So that's a problem, so you will need to defend both of them. Now, if the ice slugs get too close and they start making their way across the sand, you're going to have to switch to Link and then attack the ice slug before they hit you. So I actually didn't quite get to that one in time, but otherwise you can pretty much just ignore Link. You only use him for the Bombchus and for defending himself, but otherwise, if you can use Gongoron, and hopefully you can kill the ice slugs before they ever get across the sand. And what you want to do with Gongoron is smack into the side of the boss, after the boss charges in particular. He's vulnerable for a little bit, so smack into the side, keep doing it until you knock him over. This will stun him for a little bit so that his mouth is wide open. Send a Bombchus into his mouth. This will damage him. So you just want to keep doing that with Gongoron, kill the ice slugs as soon as possible, and the ice slugs do drop items. They drop recovery hearts and Bombchus, so you can get them with either one, with either Link or Gongoron. It's definitely easier to do with Gongoron, so if you can, you want to try and attack them with him as opposed to Link, because it's significantly easier. And you'll get the items the same way, either way. Wait for a good opportunity for the boss to yell at you, and then it's going to charge just afterwards, so lure it over to a wall, then dodge out of the way and smack it in the side to make it vulnerable. Then you want to switch to Link and defend yourself if you have to. Use a Bombchus, and remember that as you're using Bombchus, you can actually start moving around with the stylus to start moving entirely, so I actually switched and got the Bombchus, and I'm going to defend myself here in just a moment. I'll probably have to get Gongoron out of the way first, though. So if you're rolling fast enough with Dongorongo, you can actually just kill enemies that way, but just by moving into them. So the first one I was able to do that, the second one I was not fast enough, but I really wanted to kill that ice slug because that's my priority. I want to keep Link safe, although I took damage with Dongorongo. It ended up being okay though, because the boss just bumped into the wall, so it made it vulnerable. So before you head across the bridge, you might want to stock up on hearts and stuff real quick in the jars, but go ahead and do so, and this will lower the bridge right behind you that just got created, and the boss will wake back up. So that was just the first phase. Now we have to fight him by ourselves. We can't rely on Dongorongo to knock him over for us. So the second phase of the battle is more like a traditional Dongorongo battle. How that works is he sucks in air and then he'll release this bout of flame, but if you can throw a bomb at him successfully while he's still sucking in, then it will stun him instead. That's how Dodongos have always worked in the Zelda series. So you want to just wait, dodge back and forth and dodge his fireballs and stuff and wait for a good opportunity for when he sucks in air, and then you can throw a bomb at him. If you can get the bomb flowers, then you can do that to save on bombs or in case you run out. I don't think the ice slugs actually drop regular bombs for this second phase. They dropped Bombchus for the first phase, but I don't think they drop any regular bombs for the second one. Once you do successfully hit him, he'll knock him over and it'll expose his weak point, so just keep smacking away at it until he gets back up. Now you could also real quick switch to your collection and switch to the Spirit of Power to do a little bit extra damage against the boss, and that might be kind of nice as well. I find it irritating that Dodongos have, like, Goron-y sounding names, especially this boss, though. Dongorongo. Yeah, it's got Goron in the name. Like, was he a Goron at one point and he turned into a monster? Or what does that even mean? I don't understand why this is even necessary, but especially because they have Gongoron here, too, and he also has Goron in his name. It's just, I don't know why they had to name him like that. It's so confusing. It makes me feel like the enemies are copying the Goron names, but actually, if anything, it's probably the other way around, because the Dongos were in the series first. They were in the original Legend of Zelda, and then Ocarina of Time was actually the first game to introduce Gorons, but it was also the second game in the Zelda series that had Dodongos in it, which surprised me. I had to think about that for a moment, but he's not, Dodongos that is, are not in Link's Awakening or Link to the Past or Adventure of Link. So it just goes straight from original Legend of Zelda to Ocarina of Time, where you also have Gorons. But yeah, so you have Dodongos for first. So I guess as far as Goron-y sounding names, I guess technically Dodongos have seniority. Oh well, I don't know, but yeah, I think this was a little bit excessive. I wish they had named the boss something a little bit more distinctive. So as usual, if you somehow don't get the heart container, you can always just take the blue portal at the entrance of the temple to come back to the boss room so you can get that. So if you somehow forgot the heart container, you can totally still get it. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. One quick comment to make about this. In the next room, we're going to meet up with Gongoron again, and this is actually kind of an interesting thing. One of the things that Nintendo really liked about Phantom Hourglass is they were really happy with how the whole controlling Gongoron worked for this temple. It made them really intrigued, and they wanted to see how they could expand on that mechanic. And so that was actually one of the primary reasons why they are behind their whole mentality behind what happened with Spirit Tracks, is they designed Zelda's controls off of Gongoron, actually. They talk about it a lot in some interviews pretty thoroughly. One thing I sort of wonder about is if in the design of this temple, they were originally coming up with two different control schemes for the Bombchus. Like, originally it was going to be like Gongoron was his controls of, like, being able to swap to it and then just, like, drag it around and then, like, make it go somewhere. I kind of wonder if the Bombchus originally just followed wherever your stylus was until eventually it blew up after a certain amount of time. Maybe players kind of found that confusing, and eventually they just changed it to the whole route mechanic like you do for your boat, and then that ended up being better or whatever. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting. I just sort of wonder about that. I think maybe too, because you couldn't, they have it set up right now where you can set your wind-up toy down and then you can run around as Link. So maybe they thought that was a little bit better for the Bombchus in particular, because it created some interesting puzzles. But they also really liked the other control schemes, so they kind of expanded on it and then made Gongoron, like, I don't know. I think it's kind of neat. I guess part of what I'm trying to say is I think that maybe Gongoron was originally a Bombchu. Like, literally his controls were a Bombchu is what I'm trying to say. And then they ended up separating it and have two different control schemes because Zelda is a little bit almost more in between the two. You still have the button where you can swap to her and stuff like that for the sequel, and you can still draw a path for her like you do for the Bombchu. It's kind of like this weird mixture of both mechanics, and that's part of what I'm trying to say, is I think that maybe originally they were the same thing and then they changed it for Phantom Hourglass. So I guess ultimately what I'm trying to express is that Zelda is actually designed after a bomb, so it makes sense that she's a little volatile. You know, you don't want to piss her off, guys. Well, that's the end of this video, folks. If you enjoyed this, be sure to follow and subscribe to Zelda Dungeon as well as myself for more of the same kind of thing. As always, you guys are awesome, have an amazing day, and I will see you next time.